Nathaniel, where are we going?
So we are on our way into a remote trailhead that is leads its way up to a couple of confluences that dump out down into this lower river corridor where many reports have happened over the years, and we're trying to get in. We're basically doing a survey. We've done all of the lower survey over the years to find out what is moving up and down, but now we're starting to really push our way into the area up higher where things potentially have more security and ability to hang out as the food resources creep up, where they can avoid humans. So we're going up to a couple of remote backcountry lakes that have had track finds and activity previously, and so we are gonna try to creep in there and see if we can stir it up.
Cool. You always find these wonderful roads to go on.
Oh, always. So before we take off, just wanted to talk about this location real quick. And what you can see here is that there's a lot of these ravines that run down off this upper area where there's alpine lakes at the top and scrubby huckleberry patches, and that's very significant. And we also have a ton of thimbleberry cropping in, tons of salmonberry, and a whole bunch of fruiting plants, including devil's club. And this area is just about to totally be flush with food for the next 3 to 4 months. And so this is potentially the refuge for these animals that are avoiding human contact in the summer and in the heat, where they spend probably several days at a time and then circuit their way down to the confluences below to take part in the dump of the salmonoids and stuff down in the river. And so the reports kind of reflect that is likely the trend, and so that's why we're here. And there's a lot of really cool observation places and ledges and castles, if you will, but we'll get into that as we head up. But for now, we're gonna just get our stuff together and head out. All right, so we've come in on the trail just a little ways already. Just entered the bigger standing timbers you can see behind us, and we're just getting all our cameras situated and on hand in case we encounter anything on the trail or on the way in. There's nobody in here. It's a one road access, and there's no one here, so we have this place to ourselves at this point. But we're well set to document everything going on. We're running audio. We have many thermal imaging cameras, at least what, 4?
I have 4 on me.
He's got 4 on him. I've got my handheld, and we're going to be tonight covering the entire area as we basically throw a fit and have some antics working, potentially working things up around us. So we're going to keep heading in here now. All right, well, we're about approaching halfway in, and it's much cooler back here. It is like nature's air conditioner. It's beautiful, and we just now gotta make our way. It's been pretty flat all the way in, but it's gonna get a little steep up by the falls where they transition up to the benches and the castle area that we're heading. So, yep, you got a couple more miles. As you can see, Chris is the Sasquatch, eating all the huckleberries, which, by the way, the large blue variety, if I can get them on camera here, which I can't, yeah, there they are in. So lots of different kinds of food coming in. So we're gonna gorge ourselves later under the stars. Look at that red huckleberry carpet. Holy cow. It's a mix. It's red huckleberry and blue. Look at that one. That one is just packed. Wow. That is just packed, dude. Look at that thing. Just completely loaded. All right. Definitely starting to get thick. Old growth transition. And as you can tell, we're going uphill a little bit. Trying to not stop and eat huckleberry the whole time, but it's hard, especially when it's just everywhere. Man, that's gorgeous. Look at that. All right. Well, as you can see up there, there's our first couple outcroppings. Yeah, look at those. Great observation points up there. If you were a Sasquatch and didn't care about things, silly things like slope angle and all that, that's a great place to hang out and survey the terrain and avoid humans. But we're still down here for now, and hopefully we can draw them down near our camp this evening. So, what are your thoughts on the hike so far?
It's been a good one. It's getting a little steep, but that was expected. Honestly, the first mile and a half was very easy. And then you lied to me
He's speculating, folks.
and said that I had to hike further. Now it's going uphill. I'm sweating like a pig.
Same.
But it's beautiful, and it's not ironwork.
Not iron. Then you need to get a shirt that says anything but ironwork.
Yeah. I'm not crawling around on the steel.
Just crawling around on a trail.
Bolting up, rattling bolts, or welding. Anything's better than that. This is beautiful out here. I needed this.
I think we both did. Both been working like crazy, working on side projects, editing videos, putting stuff together, and just couldn't find time between the 4th and now to do anything other than be home and work a ton. So this is good to get out here and get some, what do they call it, green bathing? What do they call that now? Or forest bathing. Just being in the wilderness and God's great creation, and just be out here away from all the BS in towns and cities, and just soak it in, eat some clean food, wake up and see a sunrise, and hope that something shows up and harasses your camp in the middle of the night. That's the hope. But so at least in this moment, we're living the dream.
I might have it with me. I have a book for identifying trees.
We'll have to bust it out, check it out on the way down, but that is a very big, very old tree, regardless of its species. I'm still sold that it's a Doug fir, but
It's at least 200 years old.
oh, easy. It's pretty wild to think about that some of these trees were standing before, Lewis and Clark could have come barging through the terrain to come check this area out. And if anyone who hasn't checked out some of Lewis and Clark's journals about their treks through the territories of the United States over to the coast, that's an interesting read.
So just before it went dead quiet, you heard that bird alarm call, didn't you?
I did hear it for a second. I wasn't paying attention to the direction. I was looking down.
Came from up here, and it is skookum quiet.
It is very still. And the food carpet's getting thicker right where we're at too.
There's gonna be, imagine there's a bear in here. Multiple bears.
Multiple. That's an understatement. There's probably dozens in this area. All through up this corridor here. But it just, between 40 yards back.
Yeah, it was about 40, 50 yards back. I heard a bird, I can't tell you what kind of bird, do an alarm call. And then everything just went quiet.
Dead still. Yeah, it's just like super, super quiet. So right as we just crested this little berm back here near this little inlet, we got to the bottom where the stream crosses, and immediately I smelled a musky smell. And the last time I smelled something like that, it was a bear den. And we were just commenting a bit ago about how he had heard a bird alarm call just further back, maybe what, 150 yards?
Yeah.
And sure enough, come around the bend, here's that super musky, stinky
It was a
bear smell. So definitely gonna keep our heads turned all the way around. So, but that's cool.
Know your smells.
Know your smells.
Elk have a very distinctive smell.
Yeah, it's like a barnyardy
Yeah.
kind of horse trough, but with animal funk smell too.
This had its kind of a sweet funk to it.
Yeah, it did. It was kind of interesting, but yeah, know your wildlife and the habitat you're going in. And when you see a lot of food, that probably means that there's a lot of predators and omnivores around. So keep that in mind. Ideal circumstances, we kind of stop in here and therm a bit. Just try to see if anything's chilling out up above us. As a matter of fact, you know, oh wow, you can see the valley behind us.
What are you saying, Nathaniel? You want me to pull my thermal out?
I'm not saying that, but I definitely,
You just said it.
I think people would enjoy seeing the routine. So just scanning that entire hillside and berm up there just to see if we can catch anything moving above or just beyond us, or just
Yeah, the clarity on this one is way better. Look out.
oh yeah, you're good. So yeah, as you can see, just scanning.
So this is a refurbished thermal. I had one, it's the Taipan 15256. I bought one about 5 years ago. AGM makes it, and
A great company.
it's only 256 resolution, but it's perfect for like this when you're backpacking in and scouting. And I've actually caught some interesting things on mine. Well, this winter, we were camping, I broke mine. So I contacted AGM and said, hey, can I send it in and see if you can fix it? Because I like it. It's perfect for backpacking and stuff. And they said, sure. They sent me a form to fill out. And I filled it out, sent the unit back in, and they fixed it. Well, they didn't fix it. They just sent me pretty much a brand new one for free. And I had never filled out any warranty paperwork or anything. They just automatically replaced it. So it's basically I got a brand new therm.
That's awesome.
So AGM is an excellent company. They really cater to hunters, and they have a lot of really good thermal gear that's reasonably priced and very user-friendly.
Yeah.
I have two now. I have this one, and then I have one that's in 388 resolution. So
as you can see here, this salmonberry here is just absolutely fully in, beautiful. That deep, dark red color, beautiful. And the light's just glowing it up, beautiful. That's premium food right there. And if you're a Sasquatch, that's ideal stuff. All right, so we are almost to the lake. We are just below the final pitch in the ascent here. But it's absolutely gorgeous. Check this out. Look at this waterfall, Devil's Club at the bottom, and the entire understory all the way up is huckleberry, and that is food. That is the reason that we presume that things are hanging out up here. Got these beautiful natural air conditioner, this refrigerator carpet full of food, tasty goodies, and no people. So we're really hoping that that leads to some kind of outcome. Maybe something will feel somewhat defensive over the area, and if we challenge it tonight by doing some kind of antics, something might approach and try to push us out. That's kind of the hope. So we'll make this final ascent here and set up our camp and hang out. This is our check-in moment on the hike. How are we doing? How would you rate this hike so far?
I don't know. It's reminiscent too. Oh, I can't think. I think it was Tabletop Mountain me and Jameson hiked up to. It's reminiscent to that. A lot more than I expected, but I also expected you to lie to me. So, it's about actually what I expected. I'm pretty well spent. It's not a bad hike, but if you've been working 12-hour shifts for the last 16 days without a day off, it can wear on you a bit.
That's fair.
I feel good. The good thing about being soaking with sweat and your muscles are aching, you know you're still alive.
Ain't that the truth?
But it'll be worth it. I brought way too much gear. We probably won't see a Sasquatch, but I have the gear to record it if we see it. Now, if I just left all the stupid Sasquatch crap at home,
Probably wouldn't have been so
and
bad.
brought my fishing pole, we'd be already there fishing and chilling out. But no, there's the Sasquatch thing.
But we're in it because we have a goal. We got things we got to do. We got work to do. And so we struggle on. That's what we got to do. The struggle is real.
We're just stupid. So let's just go. Let's get to the lake.
We're all just wasting our time, apparently. Yep. So we've made it to the lake. The lake is just over that direction. And we came in around, kind of circumvented the lake, and just checking out all these cool meadows here at sunset. And we came in from the timber over back in there, and you can see this is all salmonberry right here, and it's about to crop out. Some of it is right by the stream pathway, but yeah, it's truly beautiful in here. Saw a lot of elk sign, a lot of bear sign. As a matter of fact, you can see right here, there's a big trail just bored through the salmonberry here. It cuts back into that timber back in there. But beautiful area. Really wild, really thick. Grass is about knee deep. And you can see here, the meadows just open up. So, beautiful section. Absolutely gorgeous. So now I'll kind of show you, we got our setting up our camp. It's really hot today. It's like stupid hot. On the way up we were sweating so much, but this is the camp area. So Chris is setting up his tent right here.
My shirt is soaked, so it's drying.
Yeah, he's got it hung up. And we're in this little canopied section here. The evening's beginning to wear on now. Sun's going down, as you can see. Chris is setting up his other thermals currently. And we're just sitting back, eating some snacks, and settling in. Got our food hung up in that bucket there to keep it away from bears. But yeah, it's pretty wild. And there are huckleberry up here, so there's a lot of green ones on the plants, but as you can see, these are not ready yet. These are quite small. But over here, I was eating a few. There are a few coming in. You can see right here. So they are starting to come in up here too. So there's plenty of food around still between that and the salmon berries. You can see back into the timber there. It's pretty nice. Nice little campsite here. Beautiful ridge glowing up there. So, and the fish are popping now on the surface. So I'll try to get down here. Give you guys a better view of the lake. So, yeah, this is the lake. It's not a big one, but it is sizable enough to hold fish and support a wide degree of wildlife. Very nice area. I'd like to try to back up well enough so I can see up onto the ledges up there. There was 2 rocky outcroppings you could see way up there earlier from the map, but I'd like to lay eyes on them myself as a vantage point looking down here. Been seeing a lot of deer and elk beds all up in this grass. As a matter of fact, this is called a wallow right here. I'll show you. So this right here is basically an elk wallow. I've already seen a number of deer tracks going in and out. You can see slide marks here where deer and elk have gone in and out. And this is loaded with frogs. Frogs and lots of dragonflies. Whoop, there goes a frog right there. See if we can get him. He's right there. Look at him, just chilling. Pretty cool. Gonna make my way around. They're just natural little seeps. You can try to go around this for a little ways. Get you a better view. So there you go. There's a pretty good view of the area. And the acoustics are awesome. Like, check this out. Woo! Coming up on another wallow, it looks like. Oh yeah. Bet you this gets all chewed up in this late summer. So here, open lake. So let's try to get and our camp's back over there. Absolutely gorgeous. Oh, I can see one of the ledges. It's right up there. Not much of it, but you can see a little bit of it. I'm going to try to get it to the other side. So I'm on the other side of the lake now. And you can kind of see the bowl shape I was telling you about, that we're among this, in the bottom of this big dish. Acoustically, this is the best spot you can get. Okay, so right up there, I can see a ledge. So, yeah, right in there. There's a little ledge right below that, right there. That is cool. So earlier, you may have heard me mention what they call castle and moat theory. This idea was really isolated and brought forth to the public by Matt Moneymaker, as I understand, of the BFRO, or the Bigfoot Field Researchers Organization. Matt did a lot of work collecting, sifting, and then publishing reports. And out of that, they found trends. And of those trends, they noticed that clusters of reports would be around these topographical features. And what they would find is that these large structures that have these ledges and observation points were seemingly favored by Sasquatch. You could see on a map clusters around these formations where these animals would then have a massive barrier that prevented human interaction and intrusion, which if you're a Sasquatch, you're thinking about, and you have a family group or something like that, some social structure built up, you want to keep your family safe. You want to keep them near resources and where you can monitor human traffic going in and out at any given time. And it also allows you to just generally survey and be close to many different controllable climate capabilities. Like number one, you can, if the sun is rising in the east, you can jump over onto an opposite ledge and stay in the shade. And when the sun crests the next half of the day, they can jump back over. So there's like a climate control feature to stay cool. And then you have all this food resource, these carpets of massive expanses of huckleberry, both red and blue huckleberry. You have salmonberry carpets, and you have also massive plumes of everything from elderberry to skunk cabbage, and plumes of tuberous plants that kind of live near these kind of ecosystems, these lakes and marshes. And out of all of that, they found that these clusters really, anywhere that you had a really remote location that had river confluences that poured in and out to lowland, and these castles, these big topographical extrusions that bulged out where animals could sit and observe the lower areas, that bound up massive resources on all sides, that was a pretty good area to start looking for Sasquatch. That area seems to build up reports. Other notable features that Sasquatches seem to appreciate include box canyons, multiple springs, river pathways, changes in the forest dynamic and canopy. So everything from transition from alder wet subfloor, softer, more masting plants and tuberous plants growing up from the bottom near these marshes, to these ledges that, like for instance, there's a bowl here where this lake pools down, but on the way up to that peak you see in the background, there is several large flat benches that transition before they get all up to the peak. And some of those have their own marshes and their own little version of this, little ecosystem of water plants and other kinds of wet floored loving plants. And then you also have all of the nutritional aspects that come with that, like protein, for instance, frogs, newts, salamanders, you have insects, you have a plethora of other options up there, but then you have the primary resources down here. So you have options. And when you're a large primate or hominid, you'll notice those things are important because you have to support 600 pounds of mass. Food's a big deal. Security, temperature, and food, those three things. And that castle up there is a great option for something to hang out and do all three of those things at the same time. Well, anyways, it's getting dark. We're darker. I'm going to head back to camp here. Chris has probably got all the thermals set up. We've got audio set out in multiple locations. And tomorrow we will be deploying a long duration audio recorder at the top at one of these transitional benches that come up from here and ledge out. There's a little tiny itty bitty lake up there. It's pretty deep. And as well as that, right next to it is another open aired marsh that seems to have log jams and a wet floor to it. So we're gonna go check that out and start surveying for prints all the way around the lake and exploring the timber more. But for now, the game plan for the evening is to just get back to camp, and we're gonna be loud, obnoxious. We're gonna yell at each other from across the lake and stuff like that, and just try to raise a ruckus, be the only show in town and be something important to come check out. Is this a security threat? Is this something we have to pay attention to? they're going to potentially come investigate if they're in the area. So that is what we're going to focus on tonight, is we're going to put on a show and hope something shows up and shows its displeasure or tries to come in and get a very close view of us, and maybe we'll capture something on our thermal cameras. So something I noticed on my way out is that there is this perimeter of this really thick brush right here, and that is a great observation point. Something could come right up to the edge and look across and kind of observe to our camp and potentially interact with us and observe. So this is a really cool opportunity for something to come and observe us. And so we do probably want to point a thermal camera out this direction tonight. See if I can find a spot to kind of penetrate here so you guys can kind of see what I'm talking about. I think there's a good spot right here. And as you can see on this backside, this is absolutely wide open. Anything can come survey our perimeter, come right down to the edge of this brush line and look through across the lake. There is nothing to stop a Sasquatch from coming down and quietly circumnavigating the lake. You don't have to make a bunch of noise in order to pass through here. It's pretty easy. So there's a good chance something might approach our camp. So fingers crossed that something happens. So as you can see, we decided to move our camp out of the timber and into the opening so that we were more visible and our sound travels better. Also, the mosquitoes don't seem to be as bad out here. The dragonflies are really keeping them at bay. So there's still a few here and there, but not nearly as many as up in the timber. The timber was like, they were everywhere. And so all the advantages suggested that we should move out to right here. So that's our decision for the night. And Chris has a thermal set up over there looking out that direction, and then he has another one pointed across the lake over there at that dead tree on the other side, and then he's got one other one pointed up into the timber, and then we got to decide where the last one goes. But that's the plan. It's gonna be a beautiful starry night tonight, it looks like, so I'm very excited to see what all is going to happen. So with that, we're going to go filter some water and then try to be back to camp right before it gets really dark. We've got that thermal set up there. I have my audio in that little baby spruce over there running. We've got our camp all set up back out here to avoid the bugs. And it didn't really work out, but heck, we can hear and see better. And Chris is setting up his last thermal right now to look across out on that, cover that other shore over there, because that whole brush line is perfect for something to approach and come look and dip in and out of the edge of the timber up there. So pretty cool. And the lake is getting mist settled on it. The mosquitoes are coming out like mad, like crazy. They are not happy.
No, they're happy.
Oh yeah, we're not happy. The ledge up there is completely open to viewing our camp, and so everything's set up pretty good. And so Chris here probably is going to crash here soon. I'm going to stay up and make some noise periodically, probably every hour, just make some big, probably just yell some obscenities off into the darkness.
No Bigfoot sounds.
Yeah, no, just human crazy crap.
Crazy stuff.
And that's it. That's the plan. All right. So it's getting dark, as you can see. There's our camp set up over there. And Chris has already crawled in for the night. He's pretty tired. He's worked out for the week pretty hard. Needs a break, needs some rest. But got my audio recorder set up right here in that tree to monitor the entire area, and we got thermals put out all the way around us. And as you can see, this timber line comes right down to the edge of the meadow all the way around, so something can come in and observe And hopefully we capture it on camera. That would be ideal. And it's settling into being, it's getting darker by the minute. So I too am just going to hang out quietly around the camp and chill out and hope that something happens. We've been periodically shouting just to draw something in, maybe. And hopefully that does work. Something comes in and checks us out to find out if we're like a threat or something dangerous, or at least something to take note of. But yeah, up from the ridge there, most of our sound was bouncing off of that. And now we just hang out and wait. All right, so we're both inside of our tents now, and we're just hanging out. The dew's settling in. Everything's getting soaking wet. So we made a bunch of yells up onto the ridge behind us, and we are hoping that that drew something down or around the lake to come check us out. So we'll know more based on what happens throughout the night, but not a bad start. We came in, established camp, and then moved camp, and then we've made all kinds of noise. I walked around the lake, and Chris is calling in the Goonie Goo Goo or whatever that is. That's what he said anyway. And
Goonie Goo Goo!
yeah, and so we're just going to hang out, and hopefully something comes down and tries to figure out if we're a problem or something to be avoided or mess with us. We're pretty much in the middle of the meadow, so anything that's on the edge all the way around can see us and decide whether or not we're something worth throwing rocks at or something like that. Maybe push some trees over. But I'm going to periodically through the night get up and go out there and yell and basically pitch a fit and name call and see what happens. But for now, we're going to hang out in the tents to avoid all the bugs. All right, so we just got up. We had our coffee and caffeine, and we got our camp mostly packed up. We're gonna only do one night here, but we're gonna go explore up this flat that has all these springs that run down to the lake, and we're gonna just look for tracks today or any kind of sign that something's hanging out. A lot of bear sign. Just ran actually plenty. There's bear sign right in front of us. Scat. So we're gonna cruise up through the timber here and just explore these huckleberry beds and see what's up. Look at these massive huckleberry flats. This is beautiful. This is food, it's cover. And we're just gonna follow the contours here. Sun's peeking through. Wow, it's just beautiful in here. And that runs all the way down to the lake. Wow. This would be a great place for true, for sure. Because look at how far you can really see all throughout here. good ways. You'd get elk in here for sure on the camera. Coming up on a stream here. Loads of huckleberry growing right next to it. None of this is crowned out to full-size berries yet, but it will be come August. So we're just going to follow this creek and look for tracks. So this is where the streams merge. There's a couple streaming down, no pun intended, I guess, streaming down along this huckleberry platform which rises off this hill. And this is a natural choke point. And sure enough, we come around the edge here and there is a super, super well-defined game trail right here. Chris is arriving at it. But you can see it goes right up the hill, right there.
This is where I'd set up a tree stand for a bear.
Yeah, coming down off the hill. This is awesome. So the game trail's there. Where does it hook up, Chris? Did you see where it hooks up?
No, it just continues on that way up around that. But like you said, you have this convergence of streams that creates a nice choke point. Black bear like to traverse these. For some reason, they like coming over the points. I liken it to smallmouth bass fishing too. In the topography, these points that come together where you have water, that's where the black bears a lot of times are going to travel. And you, as you see, it's got this well-defined game trail. Guarantee black bears are walking through here. So if I was going to hunt this area, I would have a tree stand in here somewhere, figure out which way the wind's blowing, and I'd sit here all day, and I guarantee you'd get a shot at a black bear.
Oh yeah. And it's, you know, especially with the dominance of the wind coming down from the cold air rushing down with the stream, it would be a really easy wind play for you too.
There's a path that goes up that way.
Oh yeah. Look at that. See, so also just thinking like a Sasquatch, this is exactly the kind of spot I would like. Look, you have a little dip, drop off, overseeing the whole creek platform down there, but you had this nice little flat benchy spot to hang out. And if I were a Sasquatch and I was transitioning down and down and down and surveying as I go to watch for humans or prey or whatever, this is the kind of spot that I would pick out. Maybe we'll find one of your nests, Chris. Kind of ledgy and edgy. My secret goal is to cover Chris with ticks. That's the stream pathway. Left or right? Eventually we're going to need to get on the other side, and it looks like it just gets steeper the further up we go on the right, so probably ought to cross somewhere in here and get up on that. Got photographer Chris here. Dry sticks are so loud. All right, nothing immediately near us. All right. So Chris just commented that these fingers here, you notice they're barren of vegetation just about, but anywhere that the moisture has a place to cascade or collect, the huckleberry platform hugs it. So that's what we're really trying to scout around for prints. I have got myself going up this side to the Huckleberry Flats, and Chris here is taking over there to looking for prints. And so we're just casually watching the forest floor for any sign of large movement on the slope. All right, so we've climbed up on top of this knob. Down below is that lake that we camped at. It's more of a pond, but it's technically a lake. And we've climbed up on this bench knob here. And as you can see, there's a big huckleberry flat down here where all the springs converge. And you just got this massive pool of food growing up right here. And on the other side is the ravine of the creek. So animals following the creek will also end up on this little cap. You can see over here, got a nice flat transition that runs down to the lake. And so this perfect little spot is like built to take an audio recorder. So we put one of our long-term audio recorders in this old stump, and we have it kind of up high. It's at about 10 feet. Here, it's up there. So I got my long-term right there, as you can see, hanging up there, and one mic is to the southeast, and the other is gently to the north and west. And that's going to run over the next 30 days at least, covering this whole area. And we're going to get a lot of animal activity. I know it. Chris likes this spot.
Well, hello there.
But you can see the Huckleberry Marsh down below him. But yeah, this is a perfect place to acoustically pick up sound. Like, check this out. Hello! Yeah, there's good echo. It's perfect. So anything that even vocalizes from the peak up above all the way around, because there's like a rim all the way around this bench, we'll get, if an animal vocalizes anywhere within a mile, we're probably going to pick it up. So with that,
hopefully you get a long howl.
that would be, that's the dream.
This is the type of area that I expect to get long howls.
It would be nice to get a moan howl or like a long siren type call. That would be ideal. Maybe even get some feeding. That'd be cool to hear them communicating as they're maneuvering through this Huckleberry flat. That'd be ideal too. Just anything. I'll take anything I can get. And here I'll just give you a brief view of this beautiful little section. Look at that. Just food and water and shelter, and it's above human activity. Good little survey spot. So we've pretty much accomplished our goals. I do want to kind of like skirt around this flat and see if we can see any evidence of anything been hanging out. But we did get our long-term audio deployed, which is the goal. So we're on the other side of that flat. This is all Huckleberry. As you can see here, I've got natural springs flowing down here, and they all cascade from down through these ravines where the runoff comes down. And as you can see over here, which is pretty awesome, we've explored around and found out that this is a bull's bedroom. We found some fresh elk scat, and then you got a wallow here, spring-fed wallow over there as well. As a matter of fact, that old tree is sawed up. But yeah, they've been in here. So, and the stream flows right over there, just beyond, right next to the wallow, which is awesome. So that's a good sign. Plenty of food, large mammals, plenty for omnivores. So my goal now is we're just going to cross to the other side over there and ride the ridge back down. And we're going to pack up camp and go visit another area called Bear Marsh. And Bear Marsh is produced by we did some report modeling, and that area was picked specifically because of historic reports, and then also its habitat. There's a nice choke point coming over the ridge top. Screefield breakaway runs right down to this ledge, and the ledge is spring fed, very similar to this. And we deployed an audio recorder up there and got a pretty unique vocalization. In our last video, you may have seen some of that, but we're going to go visit that area. We're going to camp there for the first time, just outside of that area. So we're going to get out of here.